Introduction. I wrote this book to show that there is nothing impossible. Reading written in the book, you realize that some things are simple, but once you use them, you realize what effect they may have on you. Impossible was a common word for me. Now I have no limits. I hope you destroy your made barriers. What benefits there are to reading it? You will learn simple but useful things about how you can improve yourself, and how to improve short and long-term memory, reaction, logical thinking, imagination, and other cognitive functions. Chapter 1. Hidden Power of Our Brain. From the experiences so far, I can say that people who learn to control inner experiences are able to raise the quality of life. What if you could only use 10% of your fingers? It would be extremely complicated. From lifting a pencil and to twist a button, you probably will feel extremely frustrated and you will give up. People normally use only 10% of the capacity of one of the most important organs of the body, the brain, yet not doing much trouble. The remaining 90% remains generally not used, although available. But that, you may have heard. In order to most effectively use your mind, the first step is the use of both brain hemispheres equally. Naturally, the left hemisphere is responsible for logical and coordinate the activities of the so-called thinking of nearby, while the right hemisphere is centered on feelings, imagination, mental imagery, and intuition. Don Schuster, psychology professor at the University of Iowa, states that when both hemispheres are involved in the learning process, it becomes more easy. The operating cycle of the cerebral hemispheres. International Journal of Othoneuroophthalmology, Romanian. Dr. N. Riga published for the first time in 1957 a study of alternating periods of active brain hemispheres. Neuroscientist David Shanahoff-Kalsa at the Salk Institute for Biological Sciences has conducted studies analyzing EEG activity, comparing left and right cerebral hemispheres. He found a succession of dominance of either hemisphere in an undulating rhythm flow. The average time of a complete cycle from the right hemisphere to the left and back to right, as he discovered, is about 120 minutes. According to his research, not only the cerebral hemispheres but also more active parts of the body turned out to change dominance. Thus, every 90 to 120 minutes is performed in a cycle that is more participatory, more forceful, and sustained energy left half of the body first, then will become active for a period identical right half of the body. Cerebral synergy enhances creative possibilities. The most important practical aspect about brain hemisphere dominance is to create a state of balance and harmony between these hemispheres. It was found that during each cycle of change in the dominant hemisphere, there is a period in which brain activity is balanced between both hemispheres. Our research suggests that this is the moment of maximum creativity and efficiency. Two brains are better than one. The two hemispheres are complementary and, when working together, produce emergence of the phenomenon of synergy. Philosopher and inventor Buckminster Fuller defines synergy, the behavior of the whole system, unpredictable, the observed behaviors independently of any of the components of the system, whether we are in a peak period of the wave of life ultradian, a daily cycle of rest-sleep, or that pass through a valley of deep rest and recovery, we are at our best when the two hemispheres work together synergistically. To live spiritual states, yogis did not wait for scientific confirmation. This zero status, neutrality, vacuum, or perfect equality is found in yogic philosophy, being described as starting condition for the achievement of high spiritual experiences. Moreover, these rhythms are studied in a very secret form of yoga called Yogasvara. It is clear that a brain that works in the synchronicity of both hemispheres, harmony, and unity is a key to peak condition in the unusual human performance. The same is true and can be understood even easier when it comes to physical balance between the two sides, left and right, of the body. This state of perfect physical-mental balance can really afford evolutionary leaps beyond the boundaries that humanity believes today, wrongly, as being insurmountable, the holographic model of the brain, even if the idea of using only 10% of capacity is substantiated by studies of brain neurophysiology and gives great hope to those who aim to optimize the human mind. We will go even deeper. Ultimately, memorize 10 times better or be 10 times smarter, even if it meant a lot. Limit would be still impassable. The human brain works like a computer. There are output devices, information from our senses, coding systems, cognitive categorizations of our perceptions and evaluations based on previous experiences, and a central processing unit. There is also a source of energy, motivation, which selects certain information for processing and ignoring data considered irrelevant. Output devices, distributed data both conscious and subconscious to long-term memory. Systems, if the information is encoded imperfect or if it is not very important for the body, they tend to be forgotten or even erased by new information. Even if the information is stored in the brain, it is almost stranded if not properly connected to a gateway. For example, without any outside help, try to remember who you had lunch 3 weeks ago. For most people, this issue is not easy, although their memory is good. Remember an exam in which you were stuck due to stress, difficulty, trying to fall asleep when your sleep cycle has been interrupted, or impossible to read a text when you are tired. All these activities require certain levels of brain activation to be carried out effectively. Interruptions in normal brain function can affect cognitive processes, emotions, attitudes, and thus affects our whole behavior. It thus becomes imperative to acquiring the ability to cause brain-at-will state, that is, optimal for the action that we want to achieve, by controlling brainwaves. What are brainwaves? In essence, our brain is an information neurochemical processor that release electrical signals. Typically, these waves cannot be seized. Except clairvoyants and telepaths, brainwave patterns are impossible to detect without a special amplifier called EEG machine that captures and records changes in voltage that give off our brains. They identified the following categories of brainwaves, characteristic of certain activities and inner states. The first category is the beta waves of low amplitude and high frequency of 30 to 14 cycles per second, hertz. These waves occur during intense mental activity, calculations, linear logical analysis, etc. The second category are alpha waves, characterized by a higher amplitude, 13 to 9 hertz, are specific for reverie, daydreaming, deep, conscious relaxation, and athletic activities. The third pattern is the theta, more irregular pulse, between 8 to 4 hertz. These waves are associated with imagining unconscious creativity with state immediately preceding sleep. The delta waves, pulsations are 3 to 1 hertz. In the limit of deep relaxation, images and dreams disappear, and the body is able to enter into a refreshing sleep. These waves were identified in EEG performed on people who realized meditation. Clearly, control of subjective mental states, characteristic of different types of brain waves, is extremely useful in optimizing activities requiring specific types of relaxation or concentration. When learning takes place, scientists have found that learning and smart growth do not occur in normal conditions, normal, typical, daily consciousness when the brain produces beta waves. On the contrary, large fluctuations occur in the brain when we are in a state of consciousness characteristic to response to relaxation, in meditation, trance, mental opening in which appear the free associations, conditions characterized by theta waves. Such a state probably lived Archimedes while daydreaming in the bathtub. In other words, we are more able to learn and improve our brain patterns when we are in the state unusual conscience. Contrary to the generally accepted theory that learning occurs through practice and repetition, concludes that scientists have recently accepted is that the learning process is conditioned by relaxed state of the brain, characterized by theta waves. Educators, psychologists, and other scientists in the field of neuroscience explores now numerous techniques that enhances the ability to teach both children and adults through the use of images, creativity, meditation, autogenic training, breathing, rhythmically, singing, story, dance, music, and relaxation. Studies conducted in this regard have shown that these methods can lead to dramatic increases in capacity for accumulation of information and reminding them. Such techniques lead to changes in the structure and brain chemistry and human behavior by increasing the amplitude of the brain waves by changing their frequency. I will describe below some of the most important studies that provide documentation on the beneficial effects of brain fluctuation, gains, focusing. Eugene Ginlin, psychologist from the University of Chicago, created a mental technique which he called a focusing, which allows practitioners to reach new interiority that lead to spectacular and beneficial behavioral changes. It is, in other words, a learning technique that aims to achieve a perception of the problem through a series of steps, focalization that distracting from the external environment and synchronizing brain. Scientists surveyed practitioners of meditation and have found that these altered states of consciousness give a lucid depth and intense mental clarity characterized by synchronizing waves from the two hemispheres of the brain, which typically generates waves varying amplitudes and frequencies. The relationship between wave patterns of the two hemispheres is particularly important in the development of our mental. There may be two identical vibration patterns that are not synchronized when the maximum amplitude of a wave is the minimum amplitude of the other wave. In such a case, the two frequencies cancel each other and greatly decreases the total amplitude. When the moments of maximum amplitude of the two waves overlap, they are combined and the two waves will be produced with a wavelength of twice higher than that at the beginning. Thus, the cerebral hemispheres operate synchronously and brainwave amplitude of the entire cortex greatly increase. This causes severe power fluctuations throughout the brain. In those moments, possibility of a potential mental reorganizations is in a higher order. Dr. Lester Finn, director of the Research Institute of Biofeedback in Princeton, conducted numerous studies on the relationship between brainwave activity and human behavior. Following these studies, he argues that the cerebral hemisphere synchronization is identification with the experience causes an exceptional mental focus. There is a tendency to feel the increasingly unified experience. You get the experience itself. In addition, the power of awareness increases greatly, so that may be included a lot more in the same time. There is a sensory integration of the entire brain. Is like you become less calculated and more intuitive in acting, says Dr. Finn. One of the attraction sessions demonstrations of this sector is that people can learn to focus attention through synchronization of both hemispheres' EEG activity using biofeedback equipment. Jean Millet, researcher in this field, has shown that after an intense focus that accompanies brain synchronization, subjects often have flashes of intuition or creative impulses. Here's what he said: rather than measure how students are smart, maybe we should teach them how to focus attention, teaching them how to synchronize their brains. Clearly, people that can learn to synchronize brain waves will increase enormously mentally potential for learning and development. Another significant study in this direction was made by teachers in public schools in Tacoma. These teachers, under the leadership of psychologist Devin Edrington, used a device called Henri Sync, which uses sound waves phase or designated specific frequencies to create synchronization of brain waves. They found that students who studied and took the test while recording functional brain synchronization results were significantly better than students who were taught the same material by the same teachers without the benefits of hemispheric synchronization records. Extra learning. A number of deep relaxation techniques combining with the flow of information to obtain a rapid learning has aroused considerable interest in recent years. Between this enrolling and Suggestipedia of Georgi Lozanov, a Bulgarian psychiatrist, hundreds of schools and universities across the globe have adopted the method of Lozanov for rapid learning. And many investigations have confirmed that this technique can cause staggering increases in capacity to absorb, process, store, manipulate, and recall information. Lozanov and other researchers have found, for example, that using this technique, students can easily learn new 500 words per day. Selected groups even went up to 3,000 new words a day in just a few hours of learning. In most language courses, 100 new words a day is considered an excellent result, and at these courses students quickly forget many of the new words. Lozanov students, on the other hand, had a retention rate of 88% after 6 months. Reports of such capabilities of learning came from institutes all over the world, and there is no doubt about the fact that this method enhances brain function. Lozanov's essential elements are deep relaxation technique, combined with brain rhythm synchronization. After a deep relaxation of the whole body begins hearing a loud music rhythm, but quiet, like the music of composers of the Baroque, e.g., Vivaldi, Telemann, Handel, and Bach, which has a rate of about 60 beats/minute. This rhythm synchronize and stabilize the heart and breathing. Psychologists have found that simply listening to this music not only causes a slowdown in the rate of heartbeat and breathing, but also lowers blood pressure, and brain waves become dominant alpha frequency, low amplitude, and lowered. To amplify the body-brain synchronization, subjects were instructed to breathe rhythmically. Then the learning material is presented by an instructor in a synchronized rhythm with their breathing. Activation of brain mechanisms operating in Lozanov's techniques, as well as in other ways of learning, are based on the idea of prigogine, extreme power fluctuations that lead to a new order system, more coherent, intrinsically interconnected. Synchronizing brain-body produce energy fluctuations of the brain, much like how thousands of people marching on a bridge can cause vibration and breakage entry into that attic. The various elements of the brain are destabilized, able to leave old patterns and programs, and are open to receive new information and reorganized in a new way. In this state of training produced by the body-brain synchronization can be assimilated large quantities of information. Dawn learning. The expert in biofeedback, Thomas Baginski of the University of Colorado Medical Center, has done extensive research on the effects of suggestion and learning when the brain is in the state theta waves. 3 to 7 cycles/s have greater amplitude and lower frequency than alpha waves, indicating the existence of greater energy fluctuations in the brain. In general, our brain produces alpha waves predominant only in THOSE periods of time between waking and dream. But Baginski has developed a biofeedback equipment that charged when the user entered the theta state and runs only when the material had to be learned. But Baginski says about his method, we advantage by that state between sleeping and waking that has these properties of uncritical acceptance of verbal material or almost any material it can process. In such conscience modified states, a lot of things are done very quickly. As in Genlin's focusing technique, the brain, viewed as a dissipative structure, has a huge capacity to reorganize almost instantly. Perfect memory. Many scientists believe that much of the information they see, hear, or perceive, including phenomena, are unconsciously processed by our brain and never enter our sphere conscious, are permanently stored in the brain, ready to be recalled instantly. There have always been people who have shown incredible power of memory, being able, for example, memorize long lists of meaningless words and then to remember perfectly 50 years later. In a series of studies, Dr. Wilder Penfield, Canadian researcher from McGill University, stimulated various subjects' brain by weak electric current. Since the brain itself has no pain receptors, Penfield was able to stimulate different brain areas while the subject was conscious and were asked what feelings or reactions are evoked. They described a variety of stunning perceptions and instant evocation of past events as it was when, then lived. When the electrode was moved slowly, they evoked totally different experience. Penfield said, Each subject recounted records. Verbatim the conversations long forgotten, songs, jokes, childhood, birthday parties, things that have been said once, only once in their whole life, all perfectly recorded. He concluded that every experience is recorded permanently in the brain. Dr. Lozanov agrees, arguing that his techniques would not trigger an abnormal supermemory, but simply facilitates memory we all have, stored somewhere in the brain, almost everything we've ever experienced or learned, the only problem being to recover this material. In specific conditions, the human being remembers a tremendous amount of information, the number of buttons on a suit, stepladders, mesh of a window, the steps to the bus stop. These perceptions unknown shows that the subconscious has an amazing power. There is a secret of a genius mind. What is a genius in addition to an ordinary person? Are geniuses so different from us? Each of us can learn to train his mind to achieve outstanding performance. Each of us can learn to overcome his inhibitions and awaken numerous hidden secrets in his subconscious. Exceptional capabilities that are based on the development of certain abilities, memory, insight, IQ, ability to assimilate. Apparent contradictions. Rarely brilliant beings are recognized and stated so young. Many are even labeled as difficult, slow, or backward. Renowned mathematician Poincaré in childhood results obtained so poor Binet test, measuring intelligence, that was described as moron. Thomas Edison, whose 1093 invention have established a unique record in the world and changed the life of mankind, was a student extraordinarily weak. During childhood, Albert Einstein was considered by parents as a child with disabilities because dyslexia disease that caused great difficulties in writing and reading. Later, Einstein was expelled from the school and failed at college entrance exam. When, finally, he got his degree, he failed to obtain any recommendation from his teachers, forced to accept, to 25 years, a job in an office. Einstein seemed destined to live a mediocre life. But in the 26th year of his life, Einstein did something nobody expected. He published his theory of relativity, which contained the famous formula E equals mc squared, in the summer of 1905. 12 years later he won a Nobel Prize and become an international celebrity. Even today, 45 years after his death, his eyes bright, thick mustache and hair is a silver standard image of genius, synonymous with superhuman intelligence. Pathologist Dr. Thomas Harvey was on duty at Princeton Hospital when Einstein died in 1955. He did the autopsy on Einstein and, without asking the family, decided to keep his brain. For 40 years, Harvey studied thoroughly each winding of the brain under a microscope and gave part of it to other researchers. His goal? To discover the secret of Einstein's genius. Harvey did not find any evidence to show that there is a difference between a normal brain and that of Einstein, but one of his colleagues finally succeeded. After examining several sections of the brain, in the 80s, Marion Diamond, a researcher in neurology at the University of California at Berkeley, made a startling discovery that would revolutionize the concept of learning and genius. The brain grows by learning. Most people believe that geniuses are born so and do not become so. But Diamond has dedicated his career to creating geniuses in the laboratory. In an already famous experiment, Diamond has placed a group of rats in a very stimulating environment equipped with swings, ladders, wheels, lights, and all kinds of toys. Another group of rats was caged in empty hutch. Those who lived in environments with a large number of stimuli not only survived to the surprising age of 3 years, equivalent to 90 human years, but their brains increased, developing new connections between nerve cells in the form of dendrites and axons, spindle structures that transmit electrical signals from one nerve cell to another. The rats that lived in empty cages do not develop greatly and died quickly. Their brains had only some neural connections. In 1911, Dr. Santiago Rama superscript 3 in Waikahal the father of neuroanatomy, found that the number of interconnections between neurons, synapses, is a sign of genius and that they are more important in determining brain power than the neurons themselves. Dr. Diamond experiment has shown that, at least in rats, the physical mechanism of genius can be created through mental exercise. Does this principle apply to people? Diamond tried to find it. She obtained a portion of Einstein's brain and examined. As expected, she discovered a large number of glial cells in the left parietal lobe, a kind of neurological formation that she described it as an area of association for other areas of associates of the brain. The glial cells acts as a binder that holds nerve cells in place and helps in transmitting electrochemical signals between neurons. Diamond had expected such a discovery because she observed high levels of glial cells in rats. Their presence suggested that Einstein's brain had a similar development process. Unlike neurons, which does not recover and whose number can not grow in life, glial cells, axons, dendrites can multiply throughout life, depending on how we use our brains. Marion Diamond's discovery suggests that, as we learn more, the more connections occur. Mutual situation applies. When we stop train our minds, these connections weaken and disappear with time. The cortex is the seat of so-called superior functions. These functions include the learning of any type, memory and remembering, sequences of events that have occurred in the past, mastery development, programs of voluntary muscle action, understanding speech, creativity, and appreciation of all forms of art, and of course, all the sensations of conscious perception. The key to brain longevity. Studies of American researchers show that in an enriched environment, in changings, stimulations and complexity, growth, and enriching the quality of the cerebral cortex may continue during adulthood. Thus, it can be assumed that being the subject of appropriate experience, intelligence, creativity, and brain size will continue to grow, even in old age. It is also significant that the unique part of the brain that is affected by enriched environment is cortex, which increases not only in absolute size, but also in relative proportion to the rest of the brain. While the rats have a low ratio cortex/subcortex, in humans 83% of the total weight of the human brain is located the cerebral cortex. Thus, it is evident that the effects of enriched environment compared to the lack of stimulation on the human brain could have profound effects on people more than those seen in animal experiments. As long as human life is strongly influenced by the higher brain functions, improvement of mental abilities, and the substantial cortical increase has a huge impact on consciousness and human evolution. Conclusions. When reporting the results of this research to the human brain, which is more developed and more powerful than the animal one, it is obvious that people who are exposed to the enriched environment, those whose brains are stimulated and subject to suitable changes, will experience shape changes, size, and structure of the cortex. These changes will result in improvement of cortical functions or increase in intelligence, creativity, memory, etc. Even brief exposure to stimulation can produce these changes. In other words, even short periods of intense brain stimulation may increase the complexity of the brain in people of all ages. The implications are clear. It is likely to become ourselves geniuses and help others to become so, using mental stimulating exercises or devices designed specifically for this purpose, such as, for example, Mind Synergy, Brain Machine, designed by scientists to expose the human cortex to stimuli and experiences, challenging, offering the possibility to train the brain itself through self-transformation and self-learning. Chapter 2. Brain Training Methods. Human is potentially perfect being, but he does not fully utilize his possibilities as do other living beings on this planet, each on its level. I'm wondering why? Because human does not know how to connect the source of energy like other creatures, or he does not want. Whatever is the reason for neglect brain capacity, we must know that unless we use it, we lose it. is known that ordinary people lose more than 100,000 nerve cells daily to their non-use or misuse. We can choose to use the full potential of the brain and thereby greatly improve our quality of life. Why suffer memory loss when we can become true magicians? Why turn back before a simple problem? We can be full of creative geniuses. Instead of being insensitive to the feelings, we can be more vivid, truly aware of the friendly sensory environment. Instead of being locked in unfortunate emotional situations throughout life, we can learn to live in harmony with all beings around us. In life, things are as difficult as we think they are. Whatever talents we were born, the choices we make determine the events that will follow. The more we use our body and mind to develop our inner, the more we will become more able to distinguish what is real and what is unreal. Also, continuous transformation and spiritual development help us to accede to more elevated states of consciousness. I noticed that in terms of time management and personal effectiveness, one of the first obstacles that frequently appear in front of us is that we fail to stay focused. Shall we get something, and after a few minutes, our attention is flying in other directions. We notice that we are bombarded daily by messages and communication shootings of several parts: online radio, TV, phone, internet, etc. In the online world appear the temptation when you work to have open Facebook, Yahoo, Messenger, Skype, plus some tabs open in the browser internet and other. In fact, there's a temptation, but it has become a habit. Following, our attention is divided into several parts simultaneously, and the ability to remain focused on what we do when that is tested. Attention is an capability that can be trained and developed. Like any other skill, there are two aspects which we must speak about: our ability to stay focused and how to strengthen it. The second is how to leave less influenced by factors that distract us. There are numerous techniques about how to work concentrated. I chose two that are among the easiest to use. Both are based on the idea of working on one task for a certain period of time, and then we pause and brain relaxes. We will take them in turn. Pomodoro technique, devised by Francesco Cirillo in the 80s, is based on concentrating the effort on a task for 25 minutes. Extremely simple, it is especially useful if you're not used to working focused on one task. What you have to do, in short, you focus your attention 25 minutes on a single charge, then take 5 minutes break. It follows the cycle. You can use a manual timer or a program, such as Egg Timer, Focus Booster, Tomato Timer. Your attention must stay focused on what you want to do, not elapsed time. And after 4 Pomodoro periods, 25 plus 5, add a further break of 15 to 30 minutes. 60-60-30 technology derived from the works of Peter Drucker. The technique 60-60-30 is similar to Pomodoro, except that the focus now gets double time. For 50 minutes you must stay focused, then take 10 minutes break. It follows other concentration 50 minutes followed by 10-minute break, and then one session of 30 minutes of break. Then lend yourselves to more complicated tasks where you need to wait a long period with attention towards one thing. The effort is bigger now. This is why after 2 working sessions, those 50 minutes, take 30 minutes break, eat, move, drink water, recharge yourself, etc. Break completely in touch with what you were doing before. You now know how to concentrate on work, and you can train the ability to remain focused on what you want to achieve. Use in your daily activity the Pomodoro or 60-60-30 system. Or, if both are difficult, try another easy system. For instance, concentrated work 10 minutes, then 2 minutes pause. Adapt technique to your current level of concentration of attention. Additionally, here are some general tips. Work on one task. Do one thing at a time, so far as possible. I know that often it is not so simple. If possible, form the habit of doing several things at once. Remove as much of what distract your training concentration and helps you become more efficient. In parallel, you need to remove and what prevents you from staying focused. That's the less Enjoyable efficiency on a personal level, because we're rarely want to remove things we love about. Some of the things that distract. Usual attention is Facebook opened alongside your work, especially chat on Facebook, Yahoo Messenger, Skype, email window open, or notifications of new messages, any notifications on computer or phone. Sure, you do not want to be isolated, but you can define the hours between which you will avoid talking on the phone. 4. Example, you can set it between 9-12, avoid talking on the phone. Then just work, study, etc. You will talk later. A break means not work. Do not work when you have a break, even on something important, preferably to change the concentration. If you were mentally focused, now you can do something with emotional significance for you. Pause means pause. Point. The ability to stay focused is a muscle. It can be trained. Aim at personal efficiency, because not all become robots or Zen monks. But let's see where we could do our job better, faster, more relaxed, and with less effort. The ability to focus attention on something is like a muscle. You want to be stronger than go to the gym, do you? Use that muscle to start with small weights and then growing. Similarly, focus on small tasks, say a few minutes. You keep your attention as much on them. I myself, at first, could not do one thing for more than 15 minutes. Then you'll be able to grow those times until you can stay focused for an hour on a single charge. A balance work, personal life, personal efficiency. The goal is not just to have success. Sure, it might initially bring satisfaction. The problem is that if we continuously work for success, this will have it costs. Usually the consequences will be seen in family and personal life. Unlikely to end the life you'll wish to spend more time at work and less time with loved ones. Keep the balance that you find between work, personal life, family, entertainment, and any other concerns you have. And perhaps the most important aspect that needs to pay attention is that when you work, you must work. When you learn, you must learn. When you have fun, you must have fun. And when you dream, you must dream. Which of these techniques you will use and what results you will achieve depends only from you. What do you think are suitable to use from now on? Chapter 3. Practical methods. Many people are so caught up in their daily routines and stereotyped behaviors that may not even notice the chances and opportunities that may arise around them. To begin the process of complete brain stimulation, we suggest you take some time for brain training methods. You may note daily observations in a journal. You wake up and smell vanilla to change the olfactory association. With that, you became commonly in morning, smell of tea or coffee. Wake up smelling something else, vanilla, citrus, mint, or rosemary. Keep an extract of your favorite flavor in a sealed container for a week on the bedside table and open it as soon as you wake up, and then as you get ready to begin a new day. The repeated and constant association with other flavors in your morning routine activate your neural pathways. Take a shower with closed eyes. Locate the taps and adjusts temperature and flow with closed eyes. Make sure you have a good stability before the shower. Find necessary products and then wash up everything with your eyes closed. You will feel most likely a variety of textures of your body that you do not realize just watching you. Brushing roulette. Wash your teeth with the hand you do not usually use. You can substitute the hand for any activity in the morning, to your hair, to shave, to makeup, remote control button. This exercise requires the use of other parts of the brain than normally used. Therefore, all these circuits, connections, and areas of the brain involved in using dominant hand are inactive, while their counterparts on the other side of the brain are suddenly trained to drive a set of behaviors that usually do not participate. Research has shown that this type of exercise can lead to a rapid and substantial expansion circuits in the cortex controlling parties and processes tactile information. Create a symphony of the senses in the bathroom. At the end of the day, you want to calm down. Try something relaxing and neurobics. A warm bath. Use a variety of stimuli, soaps and aromatic oils, sponges, scrubs, candles, champagne or tea. music, fluffy towels, and creams. Indulge yourself in a cascade of flavors, textures, and lights to create links between new and old associations. Certain sense evokes a certain status, alert, calm, etc. for most of us. When you take a neurobic bath, simply by associating a song with it, certain flavor or relaxing activity, you form an anti-stress mechanism that will be activated whenever we feel aromatic odor. Used or listen to song. A hearing pleasure. Read aloud together with your partner. Alternate roles. It may be a slow way to browse a book, but is a good way to spend quality time together and gives you the opportunity to discuss interesting topics. When we read aloud or listen to someone reading, you use all other circuits than those we use reading as usual. One of the first demonstrations of brain imaging clearly showed three distinct when the same word was read, speak, or hear. For example, to listen to words activates two distinct areas, the left and right hemispheres of the cortex, while the spoken words activates the motor cortex on both sides of the brain and another part of the brain, called the cerebellum. When we look at words activate one area of the cortex in the left hemisphere. The brain, although aging, has an amazing capacity to regenerate, adapt, and change patterns of connection. Just as cross helps you maintain your physical form, neurobic helps you gain strength and mental flexibility. Exercise program involves stimulating the brain with non-routine or unexpected experiences using various combinations of the physical senses, vision, smell, touch, taste, hearing. It stimulates neural activity patterns that create more connections between different brain areas and causes nerve cells to produce nutrients, called neurotrophins, which can dramatically increase the size and complexity of dendrites in nerve cells. Use your body in ways you have not done it so far. For example, comb yourself, brush your teeth, stir the food, or do other simple activities with the other hand than the one that you usually use. Close your eyes and feel the road that you have to go through a room. Become aware of sounds and smells around you. Also use your foot to open a door or to pick up something from the floor, or read a page from a book that you hold opposite. When you tend to criticize someone, tell them a compliment. Cancel your prejudices about he or she for a moment. Look at him or her just like to a person who has only other points of view than you. Take a quick look, but careful, in the refrigerator. Then close the door and list the foods you've seen. Do the same with your room, picture, or with the image that you see from the window. 4 or 5 minutes a day, put yourself in someone else's shoes and see some action or transformation from his, her perspective. Try to feel. Eliminate preconceived opinions about the person. Imagine that you are an actor who interprets a role and aim to have the same behavior, same habits, moods, and feelings. Try to predict them. Breathe 10 minutes a day consciously, directing the energy of breath to the head. At a fixed hour, remember what you did in the last 60 minutes. This exercise, which takes only a few seconds, can help you become more careful. At the end of the day, also do a quick summary of the events of the day. Memory gaps show moments in which you were unaware of the actions they have taken. A more advanced exercise is to remember the day starting in reverse, from the present moment by moment when we woke up. To develop flexibility and adaptability to change, do something different every day. For example, buy food from another shop, choose another way to return home, prepare a cake without a special occasion, practice a new sport, meet a neighbor. Achieving the same as everyday actions lead to a real death of the brain. Fostering diversity is a key to brain development. Use video games. One of the most beautiful games to train your mind is Lumosity. Developed by a group of researchers from Stanford University, it seems to be enough playing 10 minutes to feel your brain clear. Two other games deemed useful to keep in open mind are Brain Age, train your brain in minutes a day for Nintendo DS, and Brain Challenge for Apple iPods. It is believed that these games require all parts of the brain and are an effective way of practice. Calculate. One of the most effective mental exercise to keep your brain trained is the rapid mental calculation. Computers have atrophied this ability. Many of us are in the stage of becoming entrapped in a simple multiplication without a computational tool that can help us. Daily basic arithmetic exercises, puzzles, crossword, or Sudoku require brain, improving its performance. Use downtime. It has been shown to maintain the smooth functioning of the brain are enough 10 minutes a day dedicated to his involvement. Thus, the time when we waiting to pay at the supermarket, waiting for the subway or bus, or in any of those moments considered downtime, try a session of mind training. If you have an iPhone, you can use Brain Challenge, an application that offers dozens of exercises that will help you to develop various mental abilities. Or you can do various mental calculations. As you study in different places. Always we were learned to study, isolated in our room, not to be bothered. Nothing wrong, it says. Psychologist Robert A. Bjork of the University of California, which concluded that a person who alternates study rooms is likely to hold more information than one that always learn in the same room. But when the outside context is varied, the information is enriched, which slows oblivion. Thus, if, instead of learning always in the same room, someone alternate rooms for study is likely to hold more information, think psychologists. Moreover, when you say, stop to routine activity that is the gift for keeping your brain young for longer. Use mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation is a form of adapted from the Buddhist consciousness meditation. Mindfulness has been described as the state of the situation you're in now, accepting things as they are. It seems that this type of meditation can bring many benefits, is an amazing tool for stress management. When the brain is overworked and creative resources are depleted due to stress, through this type of meditation, you can unlock your creativity. You do not stress. A study conducted on a sample of 1,000 respondents, aged over 65 years, has revealed that the hippocampus, the area responsible for absorption of new information, is impaired by stress. Specifically, high levels of stress lead to decreasing in function of this area. So to have a clear mind for a long time is vital to relieve stress or to keep him under control. Read, crossword, reading, and other language activities will train your brain to recognize, remember, and understand words. At the same time, they will test your fluency, grammatical skills, and vocabulary. Therefore, if you want to keep your brain in shape, as much read and use every moment to develop these skills. Change the clock from one hand on the other. If you're like me, it means you use your clock on the left hand. When you want to see what time it is, your brain does not make any effort to run this task. It's just a reflex, and everything we do not reflexively go through consciously. So we are when we driving. At first we thought of everything. I must raise my left foot slightly and start to push with the right foot pedal. You have to look in the mirror to see if it's open, have to change speed. After you take driver's license and someone speaks to us in the car, like all of us, you say, please shut up, because now I lead. After a while, it becomes a reflex and you process not consciously this stuff. Therefore, I recommend you regularly change the clock on a hand on the other. This way, you bind your brain to think before they process. You can make these changes at the beginning of each month. Ambidextrous, this is the ability to use both hands as easily in various activities, and even both feet. The Greeks sought to encourage and develop this capability through logical reason that the sport was more advantageous to be used with both hands. Left-handed people and those who use both hands, which are ambidextrous, shows an increase of 11% of the corpus callosum, nervous party joining the two cerebral hemispheres than right-handers. The study on Einstein's brain revealed a much richer network of blood capillaries in the brain cortex than usual, and a greater number of glial cells, which are designed to promote nerve information transport through neurons. It is obvious that the more we use and we train the brain, it increases in size. Here are some examples. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci could paint with both hands. Alternately, Edwin Henry Landseer, 1802 to 1873, could paint with both hands. Simultaneously, a horse's head with one hand and with the other, the head of a deer. He learned to paint and engrave Queen Victoria, who was clumsy. Richard Fleming, Nikola Tesla, and Einstein Albert were also ambidextrous. The 20th President of the United States, James Garfield, in addition to being able to write equally well with both hands, could simultaneously write Greek with his left hand and Latin with his right hand. Go on different roads every day. Train your brain by another. Simple exercise but useful. Go on different routes every day. If you go the same way every day, your brain is already on autopilot. Therefore, it happens to get in the office and the child still is in the car because you forgot to pass on to kindergarten. Force your brain to think, to work. If you are part of world sales, this strategy may be useful for your results. Going separate ways every day, you'll see new prospects. So it's an exercise with many benefits. Do not use the GPS. Most of what we have in our lives were created in order to make life easier. But do not forget that these things affect our brain. Look on a map, read the street names on buildings, request information, do yourself. At least occasionally. Learn something different every day. Aim to learn something new every day. You can do it by reading or using Wikipedia or Google. For this, search for a word, a concept, a company, a name, or country, and learn something new every day. In this way, you not only train your brain, but you give him food. Your brain looks very much like a car. Without food is not working. But take care with what food you give. The result will be the same whether you feed him with premium diesel or water. Make exercise. Gymnastics of mind do not exclude gymnastics of muscles. There is no secret that exercise helps not only the body but also the mind. Department of Movement Sciences of the University of Georgia concluded that even a 20-minute exercise can help the human brain. Exercise raises the heart rate and thus pumping more oxygen into the brain. Meanwhile, the body releases hormones during exercise, which contributes to our relaxation and learning and better transmission of signals within the nervous system. Hydrate yourself in abundance. The brain is 90% water, so drink plenty. The optimal daily dose of water is less than 5% of your body weight. When you feel thirst, your brain already not functioning optimally, tens of minutes. Conscious perceived thirst is felt much later than the brain at the cellular level. So drink before you feel thirst. Give up TV. TV has already been demonstrated scientifically that foolish us. It is a way of communication through which messages enter your brain without effort. Not to say that often this message is not appropriate. As a small aside, I agree that some issues can be extremely educational and may contribute to brain development. National Geographic, Discovery, etc. Give up alcohol. And on this topic, there are many studies showing that alcohol slows down brain functions. Even those who say that a glass of wine a day is recommended, I suggest to drink water instead of wine. Learn a new language. Perhaps the best way to train your brain is to learn a new language. Statistics shows that a person who learn 2 or 3 languages can easily learn as well 6 or 7 languages. Did you know, for example, you can learn a language in just a few weeks? Lozanov method is fantastic in this regard. Play for brain training. Last but not least, you can train your brain. Well, while you relax, I suggest you play those games that challenge you to find the differences or the memory. I remember in school we had a game or contest that we played during breaks. The game was tide calculations. There were a referee and 2 players. The referee starts the game with one player and said, "How much is 2 plus 2? The player replied 4. The referee asked again, "But 4 plus 4? And came the answer, 8. But 8 plus 8? And so on. The contest was won by the player who reached furthest in the calculations. Now I realize how good this game was to develop the brain and at the same time To practice math, to read a good book. Reading stimulates the imagination. Your brain cannot stop to draw mental pictures as you read. So bear with you a book and read a few pages whenever you find a little time. Rest enough. Lack of sleep can affect your ability to accumulate information. Although late nights learning is not benefic in reality, they bring you more harm. To perform, the brain needs rest. Learn during the day and sleep at night. Allow the gathered information to impress in the memory. Handcrafts are much clearer and brighter. After a night of sleep, learn continuously. Do I never stop being curious? Search for new experiences, new skills, and new knowledge. A famous study showed that certain brain areas of London cabby are more developed than those of ordinary citizens. And this is due to their need to know various streets to get there. Make use of this technique to improve your brain function. Get out of the routine. Change the way to work, or if you're right-handed, try writing with the left. These activities are beneficial too. The brain involves parts that you do not use that much. Challenge yourself to get out of the routine and your brain will respond. Beneficial. A work with numbers. Leave aside the computer and do calculations. In mind, most of us have become lazy mentally. We rely on gadgets to think for us. Bring your brain back into shape by working with numbers and memorizing them. Recalls old memories. Get all old photo albums and browse them. View each photo in hand and remember when it was made, in what context, and other details. You will remember things you thought you've forgotten, but which were embedded in long-term memory. If you have other ways to stimulate your memory like old letters or movies from childhood, then you use them. Memorize a song. Many of us have old songs stored in memory. Why not exercise our memory by learning some new skills? It may be difficult at first, but if you keep cool, you'll see that it will become an automatism, and this can only be beneficial for the brain. Go through the house blindfolded. It sounds strange activity, but the brain copes with it. Once you try a few times, you'll find this activity challenging. In this way, you practice memory, motor skills, and the ability to rationalize. And now it's your turn. Chapter 4. Seek for novelty. Scientists believe that intelligence comes from two sources. On the one hand is crystallized intelligence, designating all stored information and the knowledge of how to, the kind of information that needs to go on the bike, and fluid intelligence. Crystallized intelligence increases as we age, while fluid intelligence peaks in early youth and then start to fall gradually over the years. Therefore, it is imperative to continually train our fluid intelligence. Now, you need to understand as long-term memory is essential for crystallization, working memory is required for fluid intelligence. Working memory is more than the ability to remember a phone number. Long enough to fit it gives us the ability to manipulate the information we hold. Also, working memory is what enables us to identify and understand an analogy or a metaphor. In the past 3 decades, scientists began to understand even better how working memory operates. Following their successes, scientists have succeeded in developing a variety of tests to measure it and understand its relation to intelligence work. Then, in 2008, they published a very interesting study entitled Improving Fluid Intelligence and Revolutionary on Working Memory, conducted by Jegi, Bushkuhl, Jonita, and Purig. Then, for the first time, scientists have shown that people might have control over their intelligence with the ability to develop through training. Jegi's study was highly influential, since its publication and other research showed similar results not only among preschool children but also of elementary school children, students, and seniors. Training to improve intelligence generally takes 15 to 25 minutes per day, 5 days a week, and research results indicate that satisfactory results are observed, even after only 4 weeks of practice. Therefore, studies in recent years have shown that not only we can develop fluid intelligence, but all people can do this at any age. In addition, according to experts, how more we train fluid intelligence, the more we win. So if things are so good, why we do not work and develop fluid intelligence? In an article from Scientific American, psychologist Andrea Kususki explains how do we use 5 strategies that can easily be applied in everyday life and contribute significantly to cognitive development. Made independently, each of the 5 strategies are paying off, but if you manage to observe all 5, then you will benefit from faster growth and significant fluid intelligence. So, here are 5 strategies, how to apply them, and the scientific evidence proving their effectiveness. 1. Find novelty. It is no coincidence that geniuses like Einstein were specialized in multiple disciplines. Geniuses always looking for novelty, innovative activities that can always learn from them, and they need this to find useful information. Of the 5 traits indicated the psychological model Big 5: openness, extroversion, conscientiousness, agreeability, and emotional stability, only one is correlated with IQ. This is openness to new experiences. Thus, people who have a high level of openness are in a continuous search for information and new activities. When looking for novelty, several things occur. First, with each new experience, you create new synaptic connections. During learning, the connections are built one on top of another. This increases the activity and creates more neuronal connections that in turn form other connections. Novelty also increases the production of dopamine, which not only leads to a development of motivation, but also stimulate neurogenesis, the formation of new neurons that prepare the brain for learning. All you have to do is to want to find out new information. Thus, excellent learning conditions are determined by the new activities that trigger the growth of dopamine. In turn, this increase leads to a stronger motivational state, which leads us to be more determined in what we do, and that stimulates the birth of new neurons and development of synaptic plasticity, neural connections, or learning. As a continuation of Jege's study, scientists in Sweden found that after 14 hours the working memory was trained for 5 weeks. Potential connection D1 dopamine in prefrontal and parietal areas of the brain increases. The dopamine receptor, D1 type, is associated with neuronal development. This increased the plasticity, which allows a better connection of the receiver. It is beneficial to maximize the cognitive functions. So in trying to develop your cognitive ability, is always necessary to seek for novelty, experiences that expand your horizons, read a book about an unknown to you, learn to play an instrument, attend a new specialization, etc. 2. Challenge yourself. There is a lot written about the games that you can train your brain and make you smarter, those memory games such as Sudoku. However, these games do not help us as we think or how we hoped, but still, they serve a quite good purpose. Secret in getting the benefit from these games is that when we start to do well in their resolve, we must move on other new games and become experts in other fields. Have you figured out how to solve a Sudoku? Very good. Then it is time to look for another game that challenge you and ask you for interest. There are several studies that support this. For example, several years ago, scientist Richard Heyer wanted to know if we can increase cognitive abilities through intense training sessions conducted over several weeks and consisting of new activities. The study used the game Tetris, and therefore the study participants were individuals who never had played this kind of game. The study results showed that after participants have trained few weeks with this game, they have increased cortical thickness and activity in this area, as seen when measured glucose levels in the brain. Basically, the brain used more energy during their training period. However, after the participants have become experts in Tetris and after they have developed cognitive abilities as a result of exercise, scientists have noted a decline in both the thickness of cortical and glucose level used during other tasks. Even if participants remained as good in solving game, brain scans have shown that over time brain activity is lower during the game. In other words, the participants do not make great efforts to perform well, which is why cognitive energy and glucose were used elsewhere for other functions or tasks. Therefore, to determine your brain to make new connections and For them to remain active, you should always find new activities to challenge yourself. 3. Think creatively. On the first point, saying that new and creative activities, such as playing an instrument, did not help to develop our intelligence. Here, instead, we are talking about creative cognition. Despite popular belief, creative thinking does not mean that only think with the right brain. This process involves both sides of the brain, not only the right. Creative cognition involves divergent thinking, a wide range of subjects, create associations between ideas and generation of new original opinions. To do this properly, we need both hemispheres of the brain to cooperate. Many years ago, Dr. Robert Sternberg, Dean of Tufts University, founded the Centerpace Psychology of Abilities, Competencies, and Expertise in Boston in order to understand not only the concept of fundamental intelligence, but also how our intelligence can develop. Through learning at school, involved in research the Rainbow Project, he not only created innovative methods of creative teaching in schools, but also generated assessment procedures which tested students in a way that would cause them to find solutions in a creative way, analytical and practical, and not feel the need to memorize possible answers. What were tests of Sternberg? A creative test, for example, consists of urging students to give a little explanation of animation. For a practical matter, however, they have to find solutions to imaginable situations. For example, students had to answer the question, what would you do if you are at a party where you do not know anyone? These tests wanted to help students to think creatively and practically at the same time and wish to learn more information about a particular topic, learn having fun, and to transfer and use information gained in other academic fields. At the end of the study, it was observed that students in the group that underwent tests, those who were taught using creative methods, received higher grades in school compared with those in the control group who received traditional tasks. Subsequently, the first group received traditional test and solve it, and the results indicated that this time they have fared better than those in the second group. That means that they were able to transfer the knowledge gained through creative methods and obtain higher marks in cognitive tests different from what they were accustomed. 4. Choose the hard way. Efficiency is not our friend when we try to get smart. Unfortunately, however, many things in life are centered around efficiency, trying to do more things in less time. Technology helps us to be very effective and makes our life much easier. From a pocket computer to the GPS that helps us to get to appointments on time, even technology makes our lives more funny and easier. But on the other hand, it can affect cognitive abilities and affect us. In the long term, the brain, like the body, needs exercise. If we stop using the ability to solve problems or cognitive problems, spatial or logical ones, we will not only improve our brain, but we will decline. It is true that technology is useful, but if we rely only on her, our cognitive skills will be increasingly weaker. GPS software translation or the verification types are amazing and helpful, but if we rely only on them, we risk with our orientation skills to become increasingly worse. There are times when it is absolutely necessary to use the technology, but equally there are situations in which we are pressed for time and it would be better to refuse shortcuts and use our brains. 5. Networking. The best part is that if you still reading this, you belong to the people who already take into account the first point above. Through networking, either by social media, either through face-to-face interactions, we are exposed to situations that make 4 points above to be easy, exposing us to people, ideas, and new environments. We have more opportunities for cognitive development. Sharing information makes us see things from other perspectives or to think about things in a way that we could not have imagined it. Learning in itself requires that we must expose ourselves to things and new situations, and networking helps us to do this more easily. So if you want to develop new ideas, find out things that you do not know or hear opinions different from yours. Networking is the solution. Chapter 5. Top 100 Activities for Mind Improvement. we divided all the means by which we can improve mental abilities in several categories. Environment. Entering the environment is done with all the senses for the person to become a good listener and to see all the details and beauty of nature. 1. Listen. Becoming a good listener, you'll be able to identify all the subtleties that define one's personality or contribute to solving a problem. The person will become more conscious living, environment, and the natural evolutionary tendencies. 2. Pause. To prevent depletion is recommended to leave a few hours early from work or to take a few days off to relax and get back to inner peace. 3. Guided visualization. This medication-guided technique helps the mind to make connections between feelings and experiences that apparently have nothing to do. 4. Clean air. Air fresheners improves mood and concentration of the brain. 5. Internet. Internet browsing involves a person mentally and physically is accessing a growing number of online pages. 6. Walks. Knowledge. Know your neighborhood in new ways, so go for a walk and try to notice the smells, the noises, the existing text, block walls, etc. 7. Identification. Rush hour of the brain. Studies in older people show that they think better in the morning, while young people focus better in the afternoon. 8. Natural fragrance. Natural fragrances such as sandalwood increase blood flow to the brain. 9. Connect the new memories/experiences from events, feelings, or oldest memories. The connections between the new memories and things that the brain already known help to stimulate permanent memory. 10. Listen to classical music. According to studies, people who listen to classical music often make complex connections much faster. 11. Avoiding neurotoxins, pollutants, food additives, and other chemicals slow down neuronal activity. 12. Stress tips. Stress affects short-term memory, which is why we must apply throughout the tricks that help relieve stress. 13. The observation. At the end of the day, the person must pass in the journal what he observed in the day, a colleague's new fragrance, color of his friend's shirt, etc. Little things that stimulate memory. Mental exercises. In fact, these exercises are tricks that help maintain healthy mind. 14. Drawing. Stimulates brain function in the right hemisphere. 15. Journal. Leonardo da Vinci technique used to help run in your own subconscious, helping you to know yourself better. 16. Inner voice. This exercise helps improve intuition. Thus, who for the same problem identify 3 solutions after a careful evaluation of them is put into practice the best solution chosen. Course through intuition. 17. Play this or that. The success of this game is called intuition. Thus, you must identify mountains, cities, countries, etc. Having in front of a simple photo and a question, is city or country? Or is mountain or beach? Depending on how the game is. 18. Massage. This exercise stimulates brain activity implicitly, memory, attention, concentration, etc. 19. Aerobics. Contribute to the proper oxygenation of the blood and increases blood flow in the brain, leading to a neurons. Relaxation. 20. Play red or green is a test that relies on spontaneity and intuition. The color red is associated with no/false/stop and green yes/true/pass. Then get a question that you must answer in red or green. 21. Dancing. Contribute to improving fitness by offering new challenges to brain. 22. Puzzles. All the puzzle helps stimulate brain activity. 23. Neurobic. Exercise achieved only through the senses, such as getting dressed in the dark. 24. Stories creation. Think of a story that you will tell to your friends in which will be an epic final, jokes, and other details. 25. The general knowledge multiple choice test, helping to improve the general culture by acquiring new information daily. 26. Sudoku is one of the most challenging exercises to stimulate the brain. Diet. There are foods that help stimulate neural activity and their regular consumption helps to better brain functioning. 27. Blueberries. due to the high content of antioxidants. Blueberries stimulate cell growth. 28. Red cabbage contains polyphenol that enhance neuronal function and lower the risk of stroke and Alzheimer's disease. 29. Cruciferous vegetables. This group of vegetables includes cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. According to studies, consumption of these vegetables prevent cognitive decline by up to 40%. 30. Almonds contains phenylalanine, which stimulates the production of dopamine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. 31. Hazelnuts contain protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and helps relieve depression and insomnia. 32. Salmon contains omega-3 fatty acids that offer benefits to the functioning of the brain. 33. Yogurt contains tyrosine, which improves attention and time of brain reactionary. 34. Green tea stimulates the production of dopamine and interneurons connections. 35. Asparagus. A cup of asparagus contains 70% of the RDA of folic acid, one of the most important vitamins that stimulates memory. 36. Strawberries are rich in antioxidants that improve the ability of cells to transmit messages to the brain. 37. Eggs contain proteins that improve memory. 38. Thyme. According to studies, thyme improves neuronal activity even in the elderly. 39. Tomatoes offers valuable carotenoids B that helps brain to keep young. 40. Without carb nutrition, foods rich in carbohydrates lead to the onset of fatigue, especially if foods containing sugar. 41. Eating regularly. According to studies, the brains of people suffering from anorexia is preoccupied with details and have no improvement in creativity and impulsivity. 42. Caffeine. It helps maintain alertness and temporarily prevents cognitive decline. Sleep. Sleep is important because it provides power for the realization of daily activities and stimulate brain performance. 43. Waking up early in the morning. So wake up early too. Have time to prepare in silence, without haste. 44. Nap. Only 6 minutes of nap will freshen brain and memory. 45. Deep sleep. Sleep as needed. This leads to connections and dreaming. 46. Compliance with the program sleep. A regular sleep schedule helps you fall asleep faster and wake up more easily. And, of course, rest. 47. Get down early. According to studies, sleep before 2400 hours is more relaxing and beneficial brain than the morning one. Socializing. Did you know that socializing, spending time with friends, influences mood and brain activity? Here are some social activities with impact on brain health. 48. Volunteering reduces stress, make new friends, and learn new things. 49. Celebrations. In such situations, the brain focuses on a new type of details, and the person himself will enjoy social interaction. 50. Share experiences. The brain make new connections by retelling stories of some friends. 51. Spending time with friends, relationships, and social activities improve cognitive function and reduces stress. 52. Join a discussion group. Those groups meet social need and help any person to see things from a new perspective. 53. Subscribe to classes with friends. Scholar team improves cognitive function of the brain by repeating group of the learned things. 54. Interacting with other people, not just to be sociable. Acquaintances. Your brain will only benefit when interacting with other people. For example, can welcome both neighbors and strangers. Scholar. People who constantly learning something new shows have lower risk for impaired memory or other degenerative diseases. 55. Subscribe to new courses, explore new areas of the brain. Will face new challenges, for example, practice critical thinking. 56. Memorize poems. Memorize a poem every day and in night tell it to another person. 57. Reading. Reading stimulates cognitive function and also develop intuition. 58. Teach your favorite lyrics, stimulates memory. 59. The method of brainstorming. This method stimulates creativity. The principle of this method is carrying quantity, generates quality. 60. The balance of knowledge. Excessive analysis of the subject leads to inhibition of creativity, so occasionally break is welcome. 61. Limitation of state in front of the TV. Although there are educational programs on television, according to studies, man learn better and faster if it is actively involved in an activity. 62. Right? Even if you are not writers, stimulating creativity. Indicated that every day brings some ideas to the paper. 63. Application. Put into practice the new skills acquired. Because your brain must get used to new strategies and ways of thinking. 64. Election of reading. To put the brain in front of new challenges are recommended journals about science or about trips to the detriment novels. 65. Experiment as much as possible, even if you think it is a foolish idea to solve the problem. Experimenting helps maintain creativity. 66. Taking notes. People who take notes easily remember by combining information gleaned during the course of events and topics of the subject itself. 67. Ask questions whenever you do not understand something. This activity will train in discussion and will help you remember more easily the topics around which discussions were held. Habits. Here are some habits that help improve brain activity. 68. Take a deep breath. This helps the blood flow in the brain. 69. Meditation will help ease your other thoughts. 70. Use fingers. Using fingers lead to brain stimulation, so we recommend using the pen to write instead of the computer, or turning the pen between fingers. 71. Oral hygiene. Poor oral health leads to the appearance of cognitive decline. 72. List. Design helps making connections, lists, and analysis tasks, but both visually and using memory. 73. Variety. Say no routine because the brain is not good. Thus, diversity is the watchword and it requires choosing food, movies, places for leisure, etc. 74. Stop smoking. Nicotine reduces the ability of brain function by restricting the flow of blood reaching the brain. 75. Limit alcohol consumption. Alcohol affects mental health in the short term, and also the consumption of alcohol often leads to long-term cognitive decline. 76. Confidence, intuition, and the natural power of the brain are stimulated only by trust in your own instincts. 77. Writing. Write facts, events, save your memories. 78. Journal. Keep a journal means providing new connections to end of the day. 79. Translation. If you speak another language, or simply trying to learn another language, try to translate conversations, scenes from TV or movies. Challenges. Stimulate brain activity by detecting brain limits. 80. Using the other hand. Scratch your left ear with your right hand. So, force the brain to focus on an activity that usually is done unintentionally. 81. Traveling. This means new challenges for the brain, new experiences, pictures, sounds, etc. 82. Play Scrabble. This game causes the brain to make multiple connections and find the most effective solutions for certain challenges. 83. Recall. Reminder. The remembrance of facts, important details or conversations in the last few days. The brain is stimulated and enhanced neuronal activity. 84. Way to work/school. Rerouting means avoiding routines, which contributes to increased neuronal activity. 85. Extra responsibilities. Assuming additional responsibility is a new challenge for the brain, so not all tasks assigned to subordinates. 86. Save phone numbers. Brain will be engaged in an intense effort when trying to remember a phone number. 87. Rearranging the furniture in the house. It is amazing how much the brain can get used to a certain environment, but if everything is rearranged, it will live a new experience with the entry in each room. 88. Making random tasks. Avoid routine by performing random tasks. 89. Interviewing. Questions related to work or relationships help refresh and stimulate learning information. 90. Involvement physical and mental, the more brain involved in physical activity when combined with mental activity, and vice versa. For example, play with a pencil while reading. 91. Tests. Solving tests in different areas help uncover weaknesses and finding solutions for their improvement. 92. The new media. Use new media to interact. For example, if a person is used to talk on the phone with clients, may try to use electronic mail to gain a new experience. 93. Save names. It goes on the same overriding principle that memorizing phone numbers, so it is recommended that at every party or social event, trying to remember the names of all guests. Vitamins. The brain, like other organs of the body, needs vitamins to maintain healthy and rich highest activity. 94. Vitamin E. A sufficient amount of vitamin E in the body help prevent Alzheimer's disease. 95. B vitamins prevents neuronal degeneration in the elderly. Lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle keeps the mind sharp at any age. 96. Maintaining health. High intake of saturated fat or type 2 diabetes affects brain health. 97. Maintaining an optimal level of energy, exercise, and healthy diet ensure individuals fulfilling the necessary energy for daily activities. 98. Heart health. Physical activity are also useful for heart health and maintaining brain health. 99. Remedies. To avoid the side effects caused by some natural remedies to your doctor. 100. Protection during exercise. For example, if you ride your bike, is recommended the use of helmets, as each suffered concussion increases the risk of dementia. Chapter 6. Neurobic tips. Neurobic exercises use the five senses in new ways to enhance the natural function of the brain to form associations between different types of information. Associations are the building blocks of memory and underlie the way we learn. Just small changes in daily habits and you can turn routine daily mental exercises to strengthen. Lack of concentration or memory problems mean also poor health, but we do not realize it. Maybe that's why you're tempted not to give them too much importance. But the proper functioning of the brain is the miracle that makes every day better and helps you exactly when you need it most. In this book are gathered together all findings of researchers from several foreign universities on what to do in one day to improve your memory. One-day program. 7.30. Put in your bowl cereal and yogurt for breakfast and a handful of blueberries. They are rich in flavonoids, which helps to increase blood flow to the brain and increase the concentration up to 20% per day. Then, drink a glass of apple juice. This defends from oxidation your brain cells. The loss of memory is caused by the destruction of these cells. 8.30. Train your mind way to work. Complete a crossword puzzle. Choose a game for concentration and attention from your mobile phone. If you do these exercises twice a day, you can prevent memory loss. 10.00. You have all sorts of lapses. You feel that you have words on the tip of the tongue, but you can't remember them? Do not go over time and try to remember the word describing it by saying what other terms or starting point that represent it. 11.00. Take a snack with milk. It increases memory, concentration, and ability to retain new things. 12.00. If you are struggling to remember PIN, choose a number that you see on your keyboard. 13.00. Do not eat too much at lunch. Digestion will make you feel sleepy and less alert in the afternoon. Researchers propose you a lunch rich in vitamins B range, such as chicken, potatoes, and bananas, which improves your memory. 14.00. Scribble. Draw when you can, between brief tasks at work. We refer here to the little scribbles on a piece of paper. Research has established that those who constantly scribble have the capacity to recall the various names of places by up to 29%. 14.30. Chew gum. Do you feel drowsy at noon? If you can, take a nap. Specialists have determined that this habit increases tremendously ability to retain and learning. If you cannot afford sleeping, then chew gum. This usually helps to oxygenate the brain and concentration. 15.00. Drink a cup of green tea, which is a good antioxidant. Chinese. Researchers have determined that you can improve memory, fight against heart disease, and delay the onset of Alzheimer's. 17.30. Make time for some exercise, whether it is a short walk or drive to the gym. The memory can be radically improved by aerobic exercise, and this term is seen especially in older people. Dancing is also an inspired choice. 18.00. You need a few things at the supermarket? Try an exercise of memory and prepare your mental shopping list. First think about 5 products, then more and more. 18.30. At the end of the day, remember where you left certain items, such as glasses, calendar, etc. It will help anyway to be more organized and tidy. 19.00. Eat salmon dinner. Fish oil containing omega-3 and 6, which plays an important role in brain development. Memory increases up to 15%. 19.30. Do you not remember why you walked into the living room? Try to go back to the time when you left the first place to remember what you needed in that last moment.